My law firm filed suit in federal court representing the Carmichael family. Now, the essence of that suit is the fact that we feel the city of Cleveland and the city of Warrensville Heights did not do their due diligence in looking for Tanya Carmichael timely. Now, Anthony Sowell spent 15 years in prison. When he came out of prison, he was registered as a sex offender. Now, he registered in June of 2008. He was supposed to report to his probation officer in September. He did not report to his probation officer. Now, that is timely, is very important, because from that June until September, when he did not report, is when all this activity was going on. Now, the Carmichael family went to the city of Cleveland. They told her she was not a Cleveland resident, go to Warrensville. She went to Warrensville. Warrensville said she'll show up when her dope runs out, quote unquote. They finally took the report. So the time between the fact that he did not show up was his probation officer. His probation officer had a duty to go find him when he did not show up. Between that time and the time they went to report Tanya, 3-4 months had elapsed. She could have been saved. Now, they finally did take the report. They found Tanya a year later. Now, all this activity was going on a year later, and they failed to investigate. There's another representative here, her mother also, Ms. Cobb. They went to the city of Cleveland to report it, and the city of Cleveland absolutely refused to take the missing person report on several occasions. The essence of our lawsuit is that it's negligence. It's negligence on the part of the city of Cleveland, negligence on the part of Warrensville, and all those agencies in between that had a duty to do something. Now, we filed in the Sixth Circuit, District Court. That case was dismissed, and we're very upset and concerned. Not only did they dismiss the case, as a lawyer, you know, you live with cases that you win, sometimes you lose. You live with that. But for the judge to categorize this as frivolous is really upsetting to us. We filed in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that case is pending. So we can't talk too much about that case at this point because it's an ongoing case that's pending. But we're hoping that some things have to change. These things have to change. The prosecutor McGinty, before he became a special prosecutor, as a judge, he made several comments about this straight-laced forward process. That my paralegal is more up to that, he can speak on that. Where he himself said, people are not being taken into custody because the jails are overcrowded. The jails are overcrowded, so people are being released. Mr. Sowell, who spent 15 years on a sex crime offense, didn't show up. His probation officer did not bother to even find out why. We feel, bottom line, that a lot of this could have been, maybe these women, their lives could have been saved, because the time is so important here from June to September. Tanya could have been alive. Yes.
What do you think they missed in this case where they could have stopped this thing before it got to the point where there were 11 people?
We think the possibility is very probable, because the fact that this man did not show up, when you go to the probation officer, you didn't show up. That probation department had a duty. They had a duty to come out here to this facility and find out, where is this guy? Why didn't he show up? And that timing is very, very important. Tanya could have still been alive.
You also mentioned indifference by Cleveland police. Can you describe what you mean by that, and what role you feel that it played in the deaths of these 11 people?
I'm sorry, say again?
You mentioned indifference by Cleveland police in their investigation into the missing persons reports. Can you describe how that played a role in this?
Well, at first they didn't even take a report. They had to almost beg the police department to even take a report. The Cleveland police says she's not a resident of Cleveland, so we can't take the report. Then she went to Warrensville. And Warrensville said that very, very caustic statement. She'll show up when her dope runs out. We think that's indicative of racism. And our complaint also alleged a degree of racism. And along that same lines, she was denied her civil rights under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment because a person has a right and they had a duty to investigate. That was her right as a citizen. And that was your duty as a police department to take a citizen's report and investigate. They choose not to do that. So we also have a racism element here. All this time, all these people that reported missing, there was no investigation.
A lot of what you said has been said many times over the course of the last few years. So what's new about today? What recent events, and why are you out here on this day talking about this?
We want to bring attention to this whole thing because our case is pending in the Court of Appeals. And as a lawyer, of course, I can't do anything to influence the court. We understand that. But we want to raise the consciousness of this community. The consciousness of this community. Ms. Carmichael will speak to that also, about how many people there are missing and what she did and her family did and the effects it's had on her family. And I'm going to kind of throw it to her at this point so she can make her comments.
I think we need to change the mics.
Yeah, the generator's too loud. I'm just gonna go ahead and adjust this over. You guys want to do the same? There, go ahead and do that. What's your name?
Donald Murphy.
M-U-R-P-H-Y.
P.H.Y.
And your
Law firm, Donald R. Murphy.
Danny. Mine's the top one.
Like going back in the army.
Yes, sir. We remember those days.
I remember that.
I got another one. Same thing.
You can put it on. No, I'm about to go. This just started to get too much. You can put that one on her.
You speak loud then?
Yes,
if I
I
put it
will.
on her?
And she'll speak too.
And you'll speak to. Can you go up? So they want to.
This one.
Wear the scrubs and go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I work about on working.
Yeah.
Can,
Okay, we got one more.
can you
Just got one more for you.
Okay.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I got somebody twisted.
Just clamp it, that's all. That's cool.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Back pocket.
Just put it in your pocket here. There you go.
That's good. She can. Good.
You have something you wanted to say, or do you want us to just ask some questions?
Well, I have something I want to say as well. Another reason why I felt the need to speak here today is because not only is our community in a very bad place right now, not only did this situation take place between 2007 and 2009, these women were found along with my mother and Kiani's mother here on this property. There has recently been some other murders in our city that has gone unsolved. We had the 3 women that were killed recently in the 93rd area. We have the blessing of Gina, Amanda, and Michelle being found on the west side with the Castro situation. And unfortunately, those girls were held captive the whole time this situation was unfolding, was going on. They were right there all along. We have the Michael Madison situation that has recently developed in East Cleveland, the so-called copycat. Anthony Sowell, who killed these women over in the East Cleveland area in a similar format to the way my mother and Kiani's mother, as well as the other 9 victims, were killed here on this property. Something has to change. And just like Mr. Murphy spoke to, there has been some neglect. And we all sat through the criminal trial and we witnessed and heard some of the neglectful things that came out during Anthony Sowell's criminal trial. Speaking towards the victims that were fortunately able to get away from him, the victim that went out the window of this property, Tanya Doss, Gladys Wade, Vanessa Gay, were also victims of Anthony Sowell, and I'm sure there's other victims of Anthony Sowell that we don't know of. Because here at this site in 2009, when this situation was unfolding, there was a makeshift memorial on the fence here that had at least 40 to 50 women on it. We found 11. As we know from me doing my investigating, looking for my mom and being told that I should go home and wait for the drug dealers to stop feeding her drugs and she would show up, is crazy. I'm a taxpayer. I live in this community. I pay taxes to the city of Cleveland. And for me to go as a daughter who knows my mother more well than the police that I went to, for them to tell me, no, I'm not taking a report, that's negligent. For them to tell Kiani to go in abandoned homes and search for her mother on her own, they weren't going to help her, is negligent. I have a problem with that. I have a problem here in 2013. We still have a number of missing women that nobody's looking for. I think the policies need to change when it comes to how these sexual predators are monitored. As Mr. Murphy spoke to, I have the actual sexual registration from Anthony Sowell, where he registered with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department in June of 2008, and it states here that he was supposed to report on September 6th of 2008, and Sowell signed it. And like Mr. Murphy stated, he failed to show. And nobody ever thought to come and see where this sexual offender is, what he's up to. Like Mr. Murphy stated, Sowell spent 15 years in prison, which was a longer sentence than what he was given for his crime. Apparently, our criminal system didn't think he was ready to be released after doing what the judge ordered. So they released him, and they did not alert anybody in this community, number one, that he was here. There was already a number of missing person cases within this same neighborhood, and nobody saw a red flag. I have a problem with that. Everybody wants to think that the civil suits are about money, and it's not. I would have my mother back today if some other city officials and other agencies would have done their job. And that's pretty much the basis of the lawsuit for my family, as well as the other families, is to talk about the change. We're not just going to sit back and be happy with the fact that Sowell was convicted and sentenced to death for his crimes. We need other people who played a role in this happening to step up to the plate and admit that they were wrong, admit there's some broken problems in our system in response to the way missing person reports are filed, the way they're followed up on, the way we monitor sexual offenders, and the way we protect our community. The city of Cleveland did not find Anthony Sowell. Let's be clear. Anthony Sowell was found by 2 citizens walking down the street. The citizens alerted the police to where Anthony Sowell were, and they went and apprehended him there. It was not the city doing their job or the police doing their job. If they were doing their job, they would have been at this location in September of 2008 when he failed to report. 90 days prior to my mother going missing. Can we say that if they would have came, that my mother's life would have been spared? Very well, she could have been, as long as some of the other victims, such as Kiani's mom, who went missing after my mother. When Sowell was picked up in December of 2008, after the incident with the victim falling out the window, the police had him in custody and released him up under the laws that Mr. Murphy stated prior. We have 5 more women that were killed after that. That's a problem.
What is your reaction to the lawsuit being described by the federal judge as frivolous?
It makes me very angry because it's insulting, number one. It's insulting to my family, Kiani's family, and the other women's family. And it speaks volumes to us as a community. Frivolous? Are you calling the death murders of 11 women frivolous? That's absurd.
When did the judge call it frivolous?
Judge Nugent called it frivolous May 1st, 2012, in his answer in the United States District Court, Northern District of Ohio, Eastern Division. And I have a copy here, and I think I've already given it out to some of you guys. I'll make sure that you have it. But it talks about the plaintiff failed to demonstrate a likelihood of success on the merits. The merits were never read. How can he say that we failed to demonstrate the merits of the case when he didn't even read them?
Well, 15 months ago he called it frivolous. Filed an appeal, and that appeal still going?
The appeal is still pending. It's still,
The recent events.
because of the recent events, gave me the strength to do this today, to make sure that the lives that were lost here are not forgotten just because Sowell was convicted and given the death penalty. If we do not change the system, as we know, there are many other Sowells walking around. There's many other murders that are taking place in this system, and nothing has changed. I have newspaper articles that I brought today from over the period of time that this all went on. This is a Plain Dealer cover from Thursday, April 1st, 2010, where the mayor talks about a sex assault panel that have revealed 24 differences. Okay, well, this was in 2010. This really held no weight until after May 6th, when Amanda, Gina, and Michelle Knight were found on the west side. Now, people want to reinvestigate the missing person policies. Why not in 2009, when this situation took place? There's another Plain Dealer cover from Saturday, November 14th, 2009, where it says stories differ on why Sowell was free after his 2008 arrest. This speaks to what I just talked about when the police let him go in December after the young lady fell out the window here. There's also another talk about panel, laws progress by police on how sex crimes are handled. This is from July 22nd of 2010. Nothing has been done since this all took place. These are the women we're talking about here. We're talking about Kim Yvette Smith, Janice Webb, Tanya Carmichael, Nancy Cobb, Tashana Culver, Crystal Dozier, Talasha Fortson, Amelda Hunter, Michelle Mason, LaShonda Long, and Diane Turner are the lives that were taken at this property between 2007 and 2009.
What is the common trait or the commonality in those cases that you described? The missing girls on the west side, the Madison case, this case, and some of the unsolved murders. Do you see a common?
Definitely. A failure to investigate. Sherelle DeTerry, the 18-year-old that was one of the victims of Michael Madison. If it was not for her family's due diligence in getting her out there, they was reporting that this young lady was a runaway, and she was not. She was walking from home on her way to Bible study. But if it was not for her family talking to the media and getting their daughter's story out, she would have been categorized, I'm sure, as my mother and Kiani's mother was as drug addicts, which their problems with drug and alcohol has nothing to do with anything. And we talked about this in 2009 when that was the headline over murdered women.
What kind of changes do you think are needed?
One change that needs to be needed is this letter that I received from the city of Cleveland that was sent from Mayor Jackson's office, Department of Law, to my attorney and to myself, that basically tells me if I do not walk away from this civil suit, that they will come after my attorney personally as well as myself. To me, that is a threat, and I don't take kindly to threats. It is my right as a citizen, as a taxpayer, to see this civil suit through to its entirety, to make sure that I have justice for my mother, Kiani's mother, and the other women. And for me to receive a letter on City of Cleveland stationery from our very own Mayor Jackson's office is absurd.
And that letter was dated when?
This letter is dated January 28th of 2013.
May I ask you, when you're here, your thoughts on your mom and your feelings being here almost 4 years later?
It's hard. It's hard. I believe that I'm being given the strength today from my mother, Kiani's mother, and the other women to even speak to you, because I'm standing in the very spot where my mother was unearthed. She was buried in this yard a few feet away. It's very painful. My sister has suffered a heart attack and is no longer with us because of this. My sister passed away in April of 2010. She had a heart attack at 37 years old. My grandmother, my mother's mom, suffered a stroke that nearly took her from us in October of 2010. Our family struggles with this every day, and we will continue to struggle with it every day. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. It's a life-changing event. And when you see stories on TV about the three ladies that Castro kept captive, that's heart-wrenching, because I met Gina DeJesus' father here in 2009 when he was trying to see if Gina was one of these victims that had not yet been identified. So I'm very happy for those three women because they had a different outcome. They were missing, they were found alive. That's not the case for the families over here. When I heard about the Michael Madison situation in East Cleveland, I felt like I was deja vu all over again. To hear House of Horrors, serial killer, comparing him to Anthony Sowell, the way that those women were found in garbage bags and shallow graves. That's what me and Kiani went through in 2009. We're still dealing with it. I still seek mental health because I have an issue. I'm not totally over, nor will I ever be over this situation. This made national news, and these lawsuits need to still stay in the national spotlight because this means a lot to our families. It means a lot to this community, and something has to change or we will continue to hear about people like Ariel Castro, Michael Madison, and Anthony Sowell, because apparently they felt like the system was not going to be looking for these women either, or they would not done what they done for the amount of time that they did it.
What's taking so long for the appeal?
I'm sorry?
What's taking so long for this appeal? If the judge ruled it frivolous 15 months ago and you appealed it, where does that stand?
Well, if I could speak to that, when you file an appeal, you just can't file an appeal. There has to be a lot of investigation done, a lot of research done, and to make sure that all your points are in law. So it's not a matter of how long it took, it's just a matter of doing your due diligence to make sure you're doing it correctly.
And when did you file the appeal then officially?
When was that filed? In March of 2013, March 2013.
Kiani, is there something you want to say?
If you have any questions, but that's the extent of our dialogue.
Unless Kiani wants to say something.
Can you get closer to...
Sure.
Let me see. What's your name, hon?
My name is Kiana Hunt.
She's good.
Yeah, I got this picture. It's just because the she had one. Sorry to go through
That's all right.
all this again.
Oh,
Just gonna let that. Hold on a second.
Wanna
Go
take
ahead
this
and look
one
up
off?
a second. I'm just gonna unhook all three and let them all fall through.
That's not That's mine.
It'll fall. Just like that. Okay. It should all fall down. No, we're gonna put it on. Thank you.
Go ahead.
And then, if I can have you go ahead and tuck this up underneath.
Let me put this one under this.
And your Tanya's
Cousin. Can you all make sure that you get a picture of this?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go
The
ahead.
way they left this here. Can y'all make sure y'all get a picture of this?
Absolutely. Okay. You want it?
Oh, I was gonna leave it on because I was picking it up.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All right.
No, all you gotta do is put it on your left side. I pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the left your corner.
If you can, make sure you put something about race in there.
All right, here you go, boo. Okay. Y'all ready?
Gonna be fine.
My name is Kiana Hunt, and I'm speaking for the Cobbs family. My mom was Nancy Cobbs. When all this first happened, there was a rumor that she was missing and that her and a friend of hers' body was in an abandoned building. Me and my sister and maybe 20, 30 friends, we went to the police and asked for assistance and going into these abandoned houses to see if my mom's body was really and truly there. At this time, the police told us that they could not help us, that they gave us their permission to go in these abandoned houses without them. So, to the and went in these abandoned houses, unaware of what we were coming across going into these abandoned houses. We tried before to make reports. They told us, you know, she'll come back. Was this her normal? I told them, no, this was not her normal. They told them, well, you know, try again. But I just think that things should be changed on missing persons because this is someone's family. Like, someone's family is not just a piece of paper or a piece of trash or nothing like that. Like, if I'm coming to you asking for help, I think I should get that help. Whether you feel a certain way, whether they're been categorized as anything, if I'm asking for help, I think I should get it. And during this time when she was missing, I was in contact with one of the Cleveland police detectives. I just believe if he would have did more of his job as into getting out and doing footwork, not saying that she might have been saved or she might, but somebody else might have been saved. I could have even had an open casket funeral for my mom.
What is your feeling being here today?
Whew. Being here it's hard. This is the first time I've stood over here since all this happened. It's very hard. Dealing with this every day is hard. I deal with this in my personal life, in my work life, in my family life. It's hard. It's an ongoing situation.
What are the changes that you think that they need to make?
That they just should take people's reports more seriously. They shouldn't just be pushed aside because of color or because of their lifestyle. None of that. If I'm making a report about anything, whether it's family, missing, assault, anything, they should just take it seriously. It should be a division that handles this. Like, they should just take it more seriously.
Is there any other questions? So we thank you guys for being here.
Okay, all done. Just gonna unhook all of these.
I know him through the years.
And you can just, this should just all fall through.
Couple lobby ones.
Baby, I don't know which is whose is whose.
So when yours that thing just
I saw you answer that earlier.
Nope, that was not me.
wait, I didn't do that.
What's that?
I'll know when I see it.
Okay, I don't know whose is whose.
Yourselves, you know, look around, take it in.
This is Channel 5.
Thank you.
Now, I think the flip.
Oh, thank you so much.
I don't know if they're gonna walk around back there.
Yeah, they are.
They are?
Your clip.
Danny, Danny. Paul, Paul.